on Josh from Haven Comics. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, man. How are you guys doing?
All right,
hanging in there. So this is no surprise to, I think, anyone. And just
It was a surprise to me.
well,
yeah,
I think at this point, right? I mean, at this point in time, it's not a surprise at this point. Diamond and DC are done. 25 plus years. They have split.
Real quick, before we get really into this, I'm going to go ahead and say that I have no opinion and I'm reclusing myself from comics.
Oh, no.
Well, that's
Obviously-
the thing. That DC, it's kind of become a running joke among a lot of retailers because DC, like every other Friday, just drops. They like roll a hand grenade into the room every other Friday, and then they walk out the door. And at least in this case, they put this out at like 10 o'clock on Friday instead of 4:30 in the afternoon, which is what they've been doing. But no, DC's been like rolling hand grenades down the hallway for the past couple of months. It was a Friday afternoon when they said, "Hey, by the way, we know that COVID is a thing, and you're not allowed to open your comic book store or anything, but we're going to start shipping comics through these new guys, and you got 5 days to set up an account with them and get stuff shipped to you. Ready? Okay. Oh, by the way, now Comic Book Day, new Comic Book Day is on Tuesday for our books. Oh, well, congratulations. We're happy for you. At my store, it's not, because I have to do all the work twice to do that, to accommodate that. And that doesn't make any sense. Well, the hand grenade they dropped yesterday, which is mom and dad are getting a divorce, they sent out an email about 10 o'clock yesterday morning. They simultaneously posted to a retailer forum, a DC retailer forum, with the exact same message that starts off with, "We hope you guys are all well and happy and that things are going well." And you're like, okay. This is definitely a Dear John letter. We hope that you're all doing well and everybody's healthy and happy. We're about to totally just stick a knife in your back and twist it, so enjoy. Like, oh, okay, thanks. So no, they said that they have ended their partnership with DC, and this is historically interesting because they're the ones who created Diamond as the monopoly in the first place.
Yep.
Back in the 90s, there were multiple distributors around: Capital City, Heroes World, Comics World, Diamond. They were all around. And when Marvel said, "Hey, we want to get in on this whole distribution game," and they bought Heroes World and decided, well, we're going to run this whole distribution thing. We're going to make money on both ends. We're going to control the entire spectrum. It's going to be great. Well, DC's answer to that was, well, we're not going to get in bed with you. You're our biggest competition. Forget that. So especially since they said we're only going to distribute our books exclusively through our own distribution channel. So DC said, well, we're going to go exclusive to Diamond. And then like all the other publishers who were around at the time, Image, Dark Horse, all of them, they said, well, we're going to go exclusive to Diamond too. And Marvel couldn't make any money distributing just their own books, right? As a distribution center, you have to have other accounts for that to be a profitable business. And they didn't have any. They had nothing, and they ended up shuttering the whole thing very, very quickly, and it became useless. Marvel signs with Diamond 2, and then Capital City had been lingering. They closed up. Everybody else just disappeared into the ether. There were a couple of little regional distributors that kind of still hung around for a while into the mid to late 2000s, 2000 and into the aughts. But most of them were kind of like the second run theaters and that kind of stuff. They didn't distribute new comics. They didn't distribute all the way around. Oh, yeah, wait till we get further into this because it's remarkable what they have done with this. And with the position that it puts retailers in and how that affects the fans. There's so many things going on here, and it's clear that they have not thought through any of this from any perspective but their own. I can feel Justin's recusal. He's on a different channel. He's thinking about X-Men #1, and I don't blame him. It's a beautiful book. I'm very jealous of you for having that book. But so DC says, all right, well, we're done. We're done with Diamond. We're not doing this anymore. The schedule before we get scheduled, let's talk about what all that means, right? You now have two choices as a retailer. You can either not carry DC product at all, or you can sign up with another store who is a quasi-distributor. They're a distributor. They're a store and distributors closing is what they are. And those stores that are doing this are the two biggest stores in the country who have predatory marketing and discounting schemes. If you want an analogy, it's like telling Barnes & Noble, you can only buy Harry Potter books from Amazon.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. That's your only choice. You can only buy Harry Potter books from Amazon. And Barnes & Noble says, well, we have to carry Harry Potter books because we sell a crap ton of Harry Potter books.
I heard
But
another analogy.
I don't want to feed Amazon because Amazon's actively trying to put me out of business. Yeah, right out of the gate, this is a bad deal because I have to get in bed with people who are actively trying to put me out of business. And they have all the tools to do it. From that perspective, the reason people go to local comic shops is not because we have something that they can't get somewhere else, right? I got a Spider-Man 43 on the wall. Every other comic book store has a Spider-Man 43 on the wall too. It just came out. We've all got it. It's the same book. You don't go to a comic book store because of the product. You go to a comic book store for the community. You go to a comic book store for the camaraderie, for the conversation. Well, that was a lot of seeds just all tacked on there. I like my alliteration. But that's what you go to a comic book store for, really. The product is kind of, it's the reason you go, but it's also a secondary reason you go. So from that perspective, they don't pose that much of a threat. But when you look at people who are going, okay, well, budgets are tight. We just come in, the country's been shut down for a couple of months. I got laid off. I got furloughed, whatever. Budgets are tight. And this dude over here is just selling me the same thing that you have, but at 45% off the day that it comes out.
I do have one question / comment.
Well, hold on now. You can't have opinions. You said you weren't going to have any.
Well, this is a question and a comment. It's not an opinion.
It's more of a question.
Is it a questionable comment or is it a question and a comment?
Will we understand it?
Let's start with the question.
Okay.
And maybe it turns into a comment.
Logical flow. I like this.
How's that?
All right.
Okay, so from what I read, the articles or the emails or whatever that were sent stated that depending on your geographic location would determine which distributor you order from. Is that correct?
Yes and no. They have a recommendation which store you should order from, Midtown or DCBS, aka Lunar and UCS. I don't like calling them by their distributor names because it's BS. It's not what they are. But yeah, based on location and how close are they to you, so to try and reduce the cost of shipping, because no matter what, you're doubled up on shipping now, right?
Yep.
So there's so many things that go into this. So okay, so we go back, we did our history lesson. Marvel tried doing their thing. DC said no, we're not going to play that game. We're going to go with this. And DC is really, and to their credit, I mean, it was the right thing to do, but they're the ones that created Diamond as a monopoly.
Yeah.
As a retailer, Diamond as a monopoly drives me insane. I've never liked that. Because when you don't have competition at all, you don't try anymore because nobody has any choice but to go through you. So customer service, who needs it? Right?
Packing, who needs it?
Right, yeah. Man, case in point, we got a box from them yesterday. Yeah, yesterday was Friday. This box had to have been 3 feet long by 2 feet tall, and it had a hardcover in it. Like, that was the only box they could find?
That's worse than Amazon, dude.
You serious? That's the only box they could find. I could have spit nails. I was so mad. But having a distributor, an alternate distributor, I'm fine with. I think that's great. Having some competition for them, that's fine. I think it should be a good clean distributor. And there are distributors out there who have this capability. I mean, magazine distributors, book distributors, they could very easily accommodate this kind of thing. They've already got the infrastructure to do it. They got the tools to do it. Sure, comics are a little bit different from a typical magazine, for example, because comics, you've got a lot more small accounts and they're ordering onesie twosies on certain things. I mean, there's just certain books you got 1 or 2 subscribers for, and you're not going to order more because no one would ever buy it. So there are headaches from an infrastructure level at a distributor level that you have in comics you don't have with magazines and that sort of thing. But a distributor, if they were to have said, we worked with this distributor and we've set this up, and this is an alternative you have, I would be fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. My problem is they set up distributors who are actually stores that are competing against me, and they have a built-in conflict of interest. And when I say, okay, there's a few things going on, they automatically get a better price break, right? Because they're getting their distributor fees. You follow the chain of how the money works. DC makes a product, and that costs X number of cents. They charge the distributor X number, and the distributor charges us Y number, and then that goes to the end customer at Z number, right? That's just how it works. You want to cut out a middleman, you want to do that stuff, sure, you can do that. But what they're doing is giving somebody who should be charged Y, and they're giving them the price at X. So they've got an inherent bonus right there. These are the 2 biggest comic book accounts already, and they're getting a better deal than anybody else on the planet for all DC comics right out of the gate. They're getting advance notification of comics, what's going to be in them, who's going to be doing what. They know all that stuff before anybody else. It's not a level playing field anymore for all the different stores. It's not. And then I have to go to them, another store who's trying to sell out from under me, and ask them, beg them, please, will you give me an account and sell me comics? And they have the power to tell me no. They get to decide whether they will even sell them to me.
Yeah. And here's a couple things that I was thinking about. And one of these was something that was also brought up in another video I watched. When we start looking out further than just the United States,
buddy,
Diamond has
someplace I'm going to go.
Okay, so I'll hold off on that.
No, you're dead right.
What about with the variants? You know,
Josh is like, oh,
you guys are gonna have the the opportunity to say, oh, here's a 1 in 25, but you guys are gonna have to pay this much for it, and you're not gonna get it at the same price that you would have originally. You know, is that
an incentive?
You know, say there's a 1 per store variant, and say Midtown decides, hey, we're going to keep this many of these and send this many out, but if you guys want them, it's going to cost you this much. You know, is that something that's going to be addressed, you know, to where they won't be able to do that? Or are they going to, you know, still give you the same price point that you normally would? Who knows? You know, are they going to hold on to some of these and throw them on eBay? Who knows?
What happens if there's a book that's super popular, right? I don't think it's going to be a long-lasting popularity. Maybe I'm wrong, but let's go Punchline, for example, right? Yes. Batman 92 comes out next week. Everybody got sufficient notice on that. They didn't on Batman 89, but they did on Batman 92. So everybody got sufficient notice on that. Everybody ordered that out the yin-yang. Let's say, for example, if we use the Batman 89, for example. In this case, if this were the kind of thing that's going on, they have advance notice that this is a new introduction of a character that people are going to get excited about. They can order up on it. Retailers, the rest of us, we had no idea. We weren't told squat. Right?
Yeah.
Until it was way too late. But they know well in advance, and they can order this stuff. We can't. What if I get my shipment and they didn't pack it right? I got books that are damaged, or they forgot to put books in there. And it's a hot book, and I need that book just to fill subscribers even, let alone have copies for the wall and to sell it. Sorry, distributor sold out. We don't have it in stock anymore. It's gone. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have copies on the wall at your store? Do you have a bazillion there, but not on the other side of the wall that's the distributor? like one of those. Oh, the wall. Oh, we're a distributor right now. We don't have it, but if you walk through the door and look back, oh, now we have it. Even if that never happens, the conflict of interest is there that it could happen and it's feasible and reasonable to suspect that would happen. So now they control a product that they know is going to be worth a lot of money and that people want, but now they can't get. And that's because there's an inherent conflict of interest in this entire setup.
Yep.
Well, and another thing that I remember talking to you about when we did our interview with you, and for those of you who didn't watch that video,
pack a lunch if you're going to watch that. That was long,
but it's good stuff. And I know I remembered you saying that what are you doing, Nick? Can you stop?
I'm actually testing the lag on my hand.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what you were doing over there.
I'm dancing.
Yeah. I remember you talking about when you guys would have to put your order in. A lot of times, you said you don't even get to see what the covers look like. And you have to make your orders based on what you think people are going to want to buy when they come in your shop, and you're doing it blindly. And now you've got direct competitors, and they're obviously going to be able to see what these covers look like before you guys are. So that's, again, another advantage that they're going to have.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. That's exactly right.
So, and let's be clear about this, right? Because I think this is something where consumers are happy. They're like, oh, yay, discounts and no longer a monopoly. Retailers, and I've been seeing it all over Facebook, in a note, something you're considering is, and I've been seeing it from comic book Facebook groups. People are like, hey, we're no longer going to carry DC. It's just not going to happen.
Well, now we only have two options, right? You either get in bed with these people who have inherent conflicts of interest, and then there are cost changes that are not favorable at all, which we can get into, or you just don't carry their books at all, right? That's your two choices now. So if you look at the cost, right? So costs have changed. There's been some discussion, and whether this is true or not, I don't know, but some of the other retailers have he was starting to form opinions that he wanted to vocalize and he couldn't, would be my guess. And I don't blame him. But the discount tiers with these other stores are not the same as the discount tiers we've had with Diamond initially. Now, I have heard as of today that some people have contacted them and said, hey, guys, this is my discount tier with Diamond, and I was told that this is going to be carried over, and some of those people got it changed. So to be fair, I've heard that happened. Is that a pepperoni roll? That's a flat pepperoni roll if that's a pepperoni roll.
Oh, that's 100% a Pop-Tart.
I think it's a toaster strudel.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? Now I'm hungry. But so he has to duck away again. I love it.
Nick won't let it eat on the show.
Well, I don't blame him. But so you look at the costs associated with this, right? So my discount tier is not as good, or is it? It might end up being good. Shipping, definitely more expensive. Everyone has said that across the board. Shipping's more expensive. And it's not just shipping's more expensive. Now I have to pay shipping twice. I have to pay Diamond for shipping all my other books, and I have to pay DC for shipping, or Lunar or UCS or Midtown DCBS, whatever the heck. I have to pay them for shipping. So that's another cost. And I mean, margins on comics, for anybody that doesn't know, margins on comics are flat terrible. I mean, they're not good. And there's no returnability on 99.9% of the product. So if I order it and I buy it, I'm stuck with it. And if I don't sell it, I mean, I'm not making much money. So the minute you tack on my discount's not as good from a wholesale pricing perspective, my shipping costs are more expensive. Those are two direct and immediate upfront costs, right? But then there's a lot of back-end costs you don't think about. Like, okay, I have to do invoicing twice now. I have to do 2 different processing for receiving books every week. Now, Diamond guarantees I'm going to get my books by Tuesday, or I'm going to get my books on Tuesday. These two companies have no such guarantee. Some people are getting them on Friday. Some people are getting them on Monday. Some people are getting them on Tuesday at 6:30 that night. and they're supposed to have, like, be able to sell them on Tuesday, but how are they going to do that now? If that's what they want to do, which I don't. But everything just got doubled. I've got to do twice the work now, and it's costing me more money, both on the front end and operationally. My operations costs just went up. My labor just went up, and I get no associated profit to go with all that additional labor. It's all the same $4 comic, right? So now I'm going, all right, well, is this a viable product for me to carry? And that's one of the things I've got to establish for my store is look at it and go, can I afford to do this? Will carrying DC product result in me losing money?
Yep.
Am I doubling my headaches and losing money? What am I doing? I don't know. So I'm still got a lot of data that I have to run and numbers I've got to crunch to make the determination if it's economically or fiscally feasible for me to carry these books and be profitable at all. Because if it's not, it makes the decision for me to just not do it at all pretty easy, right?
And kind of what I was getting to earlier is, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we're against a second distributor.
Not at all.
The biggest issue here is, one, it's a direct competitor. Two, it's a direct competitor. Three, it's a direct competitor, right? And
well, I have other issues, but yeah, those are the top three.
Right, and everything you've talked about. And it's, for a long time, we've all agreed, especially as a customer and as a LCS owner, yes, competition is great, but don't hand it over to our brick and mortar local comic shops online competitor, and then add all of these other issues that you've talked about before. So it's
like their data analytics and their targeted marketing, right?
Yeah.
If a book sells, let's pick some random book. What's a random book you want, Dustin? Pick a random book. Make it a DC book so this makes sense.
Red Hood Outlaws.
Batman and the Outsiders. Is that what you said, Nick?
Batman 92.
Red Hood Outlaws.
Let's Red Hood. Let's okay. So say across the country, the average comic book store order for Red Hood is 5 copies. It's not a real popular book. Most places, that many people don't care. Let's say you're ordering 5 copies. But there's a store in North Alabama that, man, they're ordering 25 copies of that book easy. And then they're ordering 50 copies. What's going on? This is clearly very popular here. They already do this to some extent, but when those stores are directly giving them their order numbers and their sales data, now they populate their advertising algorithms and go, okay, well, let's target and send Facebook and Instagram and YouTube ads that hit down there at that place and offer that same book, but at 45% off.
Yep.
And I'm giving them the data to do that. Oh, and by the way, the applications to get these accounts with these stores to buy comics from them, it says in there that I will never sue them for anything. Now, I get your standard arbitration clauses and all that stuff. That's pretty standard business practice. But if they're stealing from me, if they're behaving in ways that are completely unethical and illegal, I have already signed something that says I will never, ever sue them for any reason. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Why don't you just, I don't know, treat people right? That seems pretty easy. But yeah, I don't know. That's some insanity there. So between the upfront costs, between the operational costs on the back end, it really becomes a question of that cost-benefit analysis not near meant to talking about. That's exactly what I'm doing as an LCS, right? I'm trying to do that cost-benefit analysis to see if it's worth doing.
Yep.
Now, I've got customers who that's all they read is DC Comics. That's all they read. They're DC, that's their bag, and that's what they do. And so if I don't carry DC, what happens to them? They're still going to read their books because they're going to get them somewhere else, right? Also, and let's just be honest, I've read comics since Holy cow! I've been reading comics longer than you've been alive, Dustin. I was 8 years old, 1982, when I got my first comic book and read my first comic book. I can't envision a world where a comic book store doesn't have Batman on the shelf.
No, absolutely not.
It makes no sense. I can't even think. That makes no sense to me. I don't get that. But at the same time, if it doesn't,
I think what you're getting. I mean, and I think a lot of people there's, and I was talking to my wife about this. There's a lot of people out there that have a bad opinion on local comic shops because they've been in bad local comic shops. They've been in bad shops that are ran by people who don't care about the people that walk into their shops. And
there's definitely those out there.
Right. And that makes them not care about the people in the shop, the people running the shop. But what you got to think about is this is how these people feed their family. This is their business. This is what they do. And, you know, yes, there are shops out there that, you know, bump the prices up on books and stuff like that. But, you know, here's the thing. Yeah, they're getting a discount on the book when they order them. And they're selling them at cover price and they're not paying cover price for them. But nobody gets mad at Publix and Walmart because they don't sell Coca-Cola for the same price that they pay for the Coca-Cola. And it's the same business format. And you got to remember when it comes down to it, you know, this is how you feed your family. And, you know, this is a job, and you gotta keep that in the back of your mind when you're thinking about that. And not just hold everything, you know, about it. You can't hold the comic shop's feet to the fire for that kind of stuff. Now there are shops out there who are ran by people who do dishonest things, and a book gets hot and they don't even fill the pull list and throw the books on eBay and say, sorry, we only got this many in. But, you know, then you got people like Josh who, you know, he's honorable with everything. He takes care of his Haven family. He takes care of the people that come in his shop. He takes care of his pull list guys. He takes care of people who live in another state. If he sees a book that they think they might want, and he'll hit us up and let me know, hey, I got this in. Did you get a copy of it? Because if you didn't, I got one for you. So, you know, for the people out there that just, you know, hate local comic shops altogether, you know, you guys know we are always pushing local comic shops because we've had both. We've had the bad experiences, but the good experiences we've had with the people we've had those experiences with have been enough to really, you know, get us in their corner with most things. So, you know, it's just the way you just got to kind of look at it from their point of view. If this is still the way they feed their family.
Yeah.
Can we pull up Air Spider's comment there about his LCS owner? Yeah, everybody's got a different perspective on this stuff. I will say, out of all the retailers that I've seen in various retailer forums, including the DC retailer forum, there's probably like 3% of retailers who are, this is their opinion. This is the way that they feel. And your use of the word fear there is an interesting one. I'm not afraid of this. I just have concerns over two things. One, the business efficacy of being able to carry the book and being able to carry the product line. Is that efficient business anymore? Yep. And I haven't been able to finish. I got to collect a lot of data and run a lot of numbers to know if that is an efficient business for me to be in anymore, if I can be profitable selling that.
Absolutely.
So that's one consideration. And the other one is, how do I take care of my customers? Because the ball game just got new rules. Like, we've been playing this game for a long time, and the ball game just got new rules. And so it's a matter of, how do I now take care of my customers, keep my customers getting the books that they want, the books that they love, keep them happy, keep them coming in and talking this stuff. But how do I do that? Make sure that I'm not losing money by doing it. And then how do I also show my displeasure with DC and vote with my wallet and let them know that this is not cool and I don't approve of this. Because there is a principle at stake where I want to say, look, DC, you're never getting another penny from me.
Yep.
We are coming out of a freaking global pandemic that has shut everything down. People are losing their jobs left and right. The economy is in the toilet. Stores are hanging on by a thread, right? And like you said, Dustin, this is people's livelihood, man. This is an industry that hovers on a very thin line, right? It's a very delicate balance. And then you have the second largest publisher in the world. You're just kicking everybody while they're down. Alternately, you have companies like Mad Cave who are running fundraisers and mailing out checks to comic book shops. I got a check from Mad Cave this week. Out of the blue, I got a check from Mad Cave. It's not huge, but it's enough to pay the utility bill for the month. And dude, that ain't nothing to sniff at, right?
Oh,
yep.
I got a check from Joe Benitez, the guy who does Lady Mechanica, because one of my customers bought something from his online shop and said, I get my books from Haven Comics. And he mailed me a check. I've got checks from TKO because they're doing the same thing. If you go and buy something from TKO and you tell them your local comic shop, they're sending money to your local comic shop. Like they ordered it for you to sell. Monty Cook Games is doing the same thing with all their product. They're sending it's less percentage wise, but it's a bigger percentage because their products are more expensive. But they're doing that. You've got companies out there who are supporting retailers, who are supporting the direct market because they know the direct market is their biggest and best channel to get books into the hands of people, because it gives people a place to walk in and see that book on the shelf and go, well, that looks interesting. I want to read that. You're not going to find it. You have to go looking for it specifically online, right? I want to go look up Mad Cave Studios. Well, nobody ever heard of Mad Cave Studios before. They're not going to go look for it. You walk into a shop and you see it up on the wall, and suddenly it's like, well, that's pretty cool. Hey, they put out this other book. Hey, that's pretty cool too. The next thing you know, you like all the books from Mad Cave Studios. Nick and I were talking earlier about AWA and their books, Year Zero and Hotel, Resistance. You would have to look for those books specifically, and you're not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that because you don't know they exist. How are you going to go looking for them specifically? But you walk into a comic book store, they're on the wall, and you see it, and you go, wow, okay, I'm interested in this. So most of these other places know that that's how they get their market. That's how they get their books into the hands of readers. And you get places like Mad Cave and Boom Studios with their returnability programs and their support programs. You get all these various companies who are putting their money where their mouth is, and they're providing direct, real help to retailers who are in trouble. And that's awesome. And while they're doing that, DC is like, hey, we know you're not allowed to be open. Your entire state is shut down. Comic books are for some reason not considered an essential business. So you're not allowed to be open, but we're going to make sure we can get comic books to you that you can't sell to anybody.
Yep.
And then after that didn't work, because that did not work. They thought, this is me editorializing and speculating. They thought that people were going to jump at the chance. Like retailers were going to just jump in droves to Midtown and DCBS to get those comics. And they didn't. Yeah. A handful of people did. And a handful of people ordered anything substantial from them. So that was a failed experiment to me, but I have to believe that they had put money into this, and they were really, they were riding on this was going to work, and then it didn't.
And here's another thing that I know from talking to Mike at my shop when all this happened. They pretty much. What is that?
That's my store right there.
Oh.
That's awesome. For the first
that's what I was telling you about earlier. So this was
That's awesome. So here was another thing to me, I know Mike told me that when all this started, when the pandemic happened, that, they canceled everything you guys had on order up to that point.
With DC It was actually it was one of those Friday bombshells.
Yeah, and then
They said, "Oh, by the way, we've zeroed out all your orders for all DC products." And Diamond said, "No, you didn't. We still have those." And DC said, "No, we did it." And Diamond said, "No, you didn't." And then DC said, "Well, we're gonna zero them out." And then Diamond goes, "Okay, DC has zeroed out all your orders." Yeah, so we had to do the same work twice to order all the same books.
and now you had to do it again because you got to.
Oh yeah,
they've wiped everything out again because all your stuff was in through. If you did all your orders through Diamond, it's like, okay, as long as you got your order in by June 1st, like you're good for the next couple weeks. But now you have to go back and redo all your orders again for the the FOC, and
FOC is a Diamond thing.
Okay.
Is FOC going to even exist for these new guys? I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, it's like everything finally started kind of moving in the direction of being okay again, and now boom, guess what? We wiped everything out again. Now you're gonna have to put your orders in again, and you're gonna have to decide with price points if that's gonna be a thing. What you're
talking about with FOC and all this kind of stuff, right? The placing the orders, all that. That's another big area where there's a lot of hidden costs that people don't see. It's a good face, Nick. There's a lot of hidden costs that people don't see. And a lot of stores have got these big, very expensive point of contact sales systems or point of sale systems and inventory control systems, right? Where they get these files electronically from Diamond. They update into their system. The whole thing's automated. It all gets updated. Then it's in their sales system. They know what their inventory is. They scan it. They sell it. It detracts debits from their inventory. And they manage all of that way. And all of those comic book focused inventory control systems and point of sale systems are based on Diamond. They're based on how Diamond does things. Because, I mean, at the advent of Diamond, none of this technology existed 25 years ago when Diamond became what they are now.
Yeah.
And all of this stuff has been developed to be Diamond specific. So there are things, there are CSV files and things like that people need for just to run their automated systems at all, to get their inventory in, to sell the books, and have that automated system work. Midtown and DCBS do not have, to date, they may change it, but to date, they do not have the capability of developing those CSV files that are required to run those automated inventory control systems and point of sale systems. They don't have that. So every single person who has invested thousands of dollars into these inventory control systems is going to have to hand key in all of that information.
That's crazy.
How long do you think that's going to take? The labor that's involved in that when they're not doing other things that they could be doing to benefit the store, to help push product and market product. Now it's going to be wasted time trying to input that stuff. So there's another operational cost that people have to factor in and look at is what they are and how they're going to do that. Now we get to the international accounts, right?
Yep.
According to the data that I have seen, 15% of DC sales are to international accounts. 15%. Wow. 15%. That's a higher percentage than I would have expected, right? The majority of that 15% is in the UK. So that's England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales. That's where the majority of that 15% is. Some of the retailers on some of the retailer forums, I'm trying to read some of these comments real quick. There's some interesting.
Yeah, and there was some really good questions that whenever we get to a breaking point.
Yeah, well, I know I talk a lot, so
no, you're good.
Anytime you got a question, but hitting these international accounts real quick, and then we can answer questions or address comments. Some of the international accounts in the UK have run the numbers, and here's part of why this is a problem, right? DC or Diamond has got Diamond US, and they've got various locations: Plattsburgh, Olive Branch, all this stuff. They also have Diamond UK, so they have a distribution center in the UK. They ship books from the US to their distribution center in the UK, giant bulk cargo ship, boom, boom, which is the most cost-effective way of shipping all this stuff, right? Midtown and DCPS do not do that. They pile your boxes together and they ship them to you from their store to this store, which is tremendously more expensive, right? So some of the stores in the UK have run some numbers, and for a $4 comic, which is about your average price of a comic in from DC these days. I saw somebody earlier was quoting the Hold the Line at $2.99 from DC from a few years ago, and I got a good chuckle out of that on the inside because that's been a while. But for your average $4 comic book, under this new model, this new system, using these new comic book stores and distributors' clothing, it's going to cost them $4.50 to get in a $4 comic. They clearly can't sell it at $4 anymore. They're going to have to sell it at $9 to pay for their overhead, pay for their rent, their utilities, their staff, their new payroll, make any profit, right? So that $4 comic in the UK is now going to cost $9 to the end user on the back end, right? The guy who's going to read it. Other accounts in Australia and Israel and Korea and places that are more remote are now going to cost them $6.50 to get in a $4 comic.
That's insane.
So now that's going to run them. They're going to be selling that $4 comic for $12 or $13. Who's going to buy it?
Not
You
me.
would have to be a real diehard to pick up Wing number 72 for $13 right out of the gate.
Yeah.
You have to be a pretty big fan.
Use the DC app over there because it's not available.
Right. Right. So DC's whole approach to this, to me, they didn't think through any of this. It just feels very much like they thought through none of this. And then on top of that, and this is what really, really, really sticks in my craw. This is one of like the top 3 things that is just really chapping me. We have a week to figure this out, to decide to sign up with our competitor and hope that they approve us. And then we have to place orders with them. We have a week to process all that data, make these decisions that impact the future of our stores, put orders in, which is a total out of cycle order process, by the way. Orders aren't due until the end of the month now, right? But now we have to do this all within a week. Because all the orders for product that we placed already with DC through Diamond, those orders are now null and void. They're gone. So they're going through all this process, and they couldn't give retailers more time than a week. Are you freaking kidding me?
That's crazy.
And by the way, yesterday afternoon, Diamond released a response to DC, or not to DC directly, but to retailers saying, "Hey guys, this is what happened." They said that after 25 years, their relationship had been terminated by DC. DC had their contract had been had come up, and DC had asked for an extension through the month of May, and Diamond was like, "Yeah, sure, okay." Then they asked for an extension through the month of June, and Diamond was like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And then they had already asked, before June even started, for an extension going into July. And this seemed strange to Diamond, and I can't blame them. Like, what's going on? Because this is a pretty routine process. So Diamond says, "Oh, is there something going on? Do we need to talk about? Is there something we need to get some feedback? Do we need to negotiate something? What's going on?" And they said, "Well, we'll let you know. We're going to try and let you know by June 5th." So yesterday. And they let them know via a termination notice that went out at the same time as their email and their online post in the retailer form.
I heard that they were saying that they'd let them know by June 6th and then dropped it a day early. I mean, I don't think that matters here.
The email from Steve Jeppy, the owner of Diamond, said June 5th. So I don't know.
Okay.
So yeah, they did all this stuff. They jumped through all these hoops, and they think, and then they could only give you a week, right? Now, part of it, a lot of people think, is they're really pushing toward Diamond or toward digital.
Yeah.
Pushing toward digital comics. And I get from a business perspective why they would want to do that, right? It's cheaper, it's faster, you don't deal with any of the production stuff, the printing, any of that junk. I get from their perspective why they would want to do that. Their perspective being not DC, and not even Time Warner, but now AT&T, their new corporate overlords who bought Time Warner. I get why they would want to do that. They would look at it and say, well, why don't we just skip all this junk? The thing is, comic book readers have proven over the past, 12, 15 years since digital comics first appeared, they don't want it. The vast majority of comic book readers want a paper in their hand. They want to hold it. When digital first came out, there was a spike, right? And then it dropped off a bit, and they pushed. Let's make digital a thing. And digital climbed a little bit. But digital has plateaued. It's been running a pretty straight line for years. It occasionally climbs up a little. It occasionally drops off a little. But on the whole, it's a pretty straight line. They don't care. The readers don't care. And when the companies keep trying to push it the way that they do, that just makes the readers put their back up and get defensive about it, even more so. And so part of this, I think, is fueled by their desire to push more toward digital and say, look, print is just all screwy. If we weren't reliant on print, we could be putting digital in people's hands, regardless of whether there's a pandemic and the whole nation shut down, right? And I get that impulse from a business perspective. I get that. But it's been proven time and again that that's not a product that comic book readers want. If it were, it's readily available. They would take advantage of it, and everybody would be running around with an iPad or whatever, reading their comics that way. But that's clearly not what the majority of comic book readers want.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that do prefer digital, but I think there's three of us sitting right here. I mean, I hate digital, and it's just because to me
there's no joy in it.
Yeah, I don't. It gives me a headache just to even. I'm just talking about just reading them digitally. It gives me a headache. There's no collectability there.
No, that's out the window with digital. That doesn't exist. You're right.
I mean, Batman '89 is only available digitally. Okay, well, there went.
Those pixels are the same no matter what. I got 9.8 pixels. My pixels are 9.8. Like,
right, and like comics.
I got mine in 4K. Look at me.
Yeah, I mean, like Comixology, and I talked about this on another show before. My thing with digital is I use digital if I'm asked to do a show with somebody and we're talking about a book that I haven't read yet, anything about it, and I can't get my hands on it right then. Well, I can go read it digitally, so I'm prepared for the show. And I did that. I bought a I bought a trade paperback, basically a graphic novel kind of thing. And after about a month, it's gone. It's not even in my Comixology app anymore. I paid $14.99 for it, same price for the physical copy, and now it's gone. I don't even have it anymore. And Comixology's like, oh, sorry. So, that kind of
They wouldn't even let you download it again?
No. They were just like, sorry, we don't know what happened. And
like, sorry, this is actually a library. You only rented those
yeah,
pixels.
so,
come on.
To me, technology, I know technology is a great thing, but
Air Spider's got that comment down there about taking the sticker out of Zero Comics for the digital code. You are absolutely correct. I've never done it. The idea of doing it is repugnant to me. I can't even do it.
Right.
That's a darn good question.
Well, so speaking of questions, so there's a couple of questions in here that I do want to hit before we kind of move on. And so one specifically, and I want to say it was Austin or Tyler or somebody, but they asked kind of what your current DC sales percentage looks like. If that's something you want to disclose, if not, 100% up to you.
DC, by far, we are mostly a Marvel store. from the big two perspective, right? Our store is actually pretty much on average with the way the breakdown is for the market structure, the overall market structure. Marvel holds like 38-40% on average of the market share for all comics. And DC is a distant second, but the gap is not that big. The gap is between DC and the rest are actually pretty big. So, yeah, Marvel is a good 35-40% of our sales, but DC is a good quarter. It's a good 25% of our sales. So one of the things I've got to balance is I look at this and see if this is profitable and feasible to continue to do to sell the DC product. Is sure, I don't spend the money to buy their product, but then I also lose the people who are reading their product. And what do you do? And then again, there's just the whole principle. I mean, I got two principles really competing and fighting each other here, right? The one principle being, how can you have a comic book store that doesn't have Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman in it? How can you do that? How does that exist? I can't wrap my brain around that because that's just such a horrible idea to me. But then I have the other principle is DC is behaving in a way as a business that I don't personally want to support. I don't want to encourage that. I don't want to reward that behavior. So I don't want to ever give them another penny again. So those two things are really competing. I suspect, you want my prediction, what I suspect is that most stores, definitely some will just decide to drop DC like a hot rock, and I can't blame them. There were stores who have already said, I'm in, I'm going to go and do whatever. I'm going to get them from wherever, I don't care. And that's fine. If that's the right thing for their store, the right thing for their customers, I can't argue with that. Man, these people got to make a living. And I'm not going to tell somebody they're doing it wrong, right? That's their business. Yeah, put that first Red Skull up there. But what I look at is I say, well, how do I balance those two things against each other? And I want to support my customers because I got into this business for a couple of reasons. One, because I love comics, but another one because I like talking to people. I like selling them product that I know they're going to love. I mean, one of my favorite things is when a kid walks into our store who's never been there before, and they're looking around like, my God, I'm in heaven. What is this place? You can see it on their faces, and it's gorgeous. We keep a stash of comics that we give away to kids the first time they come in. The first time your kid comes into my store, they're going to walk out of there with a free comic. And it's going to be one that they pick, right? We don't tell them which one to pick. They get to choose. We've got My Little Pony. We have a lot. I mean, the artist for My Little Pony is one of those. Yes, that is a real quote from Stan Lee, and I agree with that. That is a legit Stan Lee quote.
Dustin, don't do that again. Jesus, dude, come on.
That's what Stan Lee did.
Yeah.
That's what Stan Lee did. Come on,
don't
Nick.
do it again. Come on now.
It's midnight. We're 2.5 hours in, dude.
Is it already midnight? Jesus.
No holds barred. After
only on the East Coast, Nick. Don't worry, buddy.
I had to get my wife to bring another. But
howdy, mate.
So, and you're right, man. And I know that's got to be tough. And I was in there today, and I heard you talk to some of the customers, and it was kind of interesting to observe their reactions. And I know you put a Facebook post out, basically asking for your customers' opinions on things. And from what I saw, everybody was very, very supportive of whatever it was your decision was. We're going to back you, right? And I think that's very
gratifying. I feel very good about that. And where I think most people, if I'm making predictions, where I think most stores are going to land is they're going to hold their nose, they're going to bite the bullet, and they're going to give in, and they're going to say, well, this is what I got to do because this is the second biggest publisher in the business. These are critical characters and I've got dedicated audiences who love this stuff. Now, what I also think is also going to happen is that most stores are going to, and I may be wrong, but I think a lot of stores are going to say, all right, I'm going to buy exactly how much product I can sell and I'm not going to gamble. on any DC product. I'm not going to look at DC Dark Knight's metal or Death Metal, and I'm going to order 100 extra copies because I think I can push that, and I'm going to work and hand sell that and get people on board. I think I got 25 subscribers for this who have signed up for it 2 months ahead of time, and I'm going to order 25 copies. I think a lot of stores are going to do that. That's a way. It's a way to meet their customer needs and a way to vote with their wallet and tell DC that they're not going to have it. You had another comment up just a second ago.
It was basically asking, do you think other LCSs will leave, or other publishers will leave? Sorry.
Other publishers will leave Diamond and go with these two jokers. That's entirely possible. I've been thinking about that a lot. For this to be a feasible model for Midtown and for DCBS, I think they would have to. And you get a lot of independent companies, and I'm sure the guys at Mad Cave can talk to you about this. I'm sure the guys at AWA, and there's a lot of folks can tell you, getting books into Diamond is hard. Mm-hmm. There's a Diamond wall. There's a Diamond barrier as a small independent publisher. Diamond has you jump through a lot of hoops. It's hard to get in with them and sell your stuff. It is hard. I don't think Diamond is intentionally serving as a gatekeeper to kinds of product, to a quality of product. But I think what Diamond is trying to do, and I don't think they've been very successful at it, at least from a messaging perspective, is they're trying to say, if we're going to be in the catalog, you have to be able to meet a certain standard of providing a product, and that product has got to be guaranteed. It has to show up. It's got to do these things, because back in the day, they would list anything and people would order it, and then it would never come because they couldn't get it out, or they would put out issue number 1 and it would be a Joe Maduri era, like 4.5 years before you saw issue number 2 kind of thing. So other publishers may very well leave Diamond. Some of them have already done so, like Alterna. They've already done so. Go ahead. Are you allowed to have an opinion now?
I am about getting into Diamond.
Yeah. Go for it.
One thing that I learned coming up through the indie ranks was that is the big question that you hear a lot in Artist Alley is, are you in Diamond? Where the other artists are asking each other. It's like a glass ceiling that you have to crack through. Like,
it is.
The people who are truly, truly indie, they hate it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't blame them, because that's a barrier between them and their ability to sell through the only real feasible comics marketplace that can get your comic into a store, right? So yeah, I don't blame them for having heartburn there, and I don't think Diamond's intent was to be a gatekeeper for quality of book or type of book, but more supposed to be, how are you going to actually deliver the books? And so they have all these indie publishers jumping through an awful lot of hoops to get there, and I think that's been problematic for them. And it's given them a very bad perception among indie publishers, and I think well-deserved. I think it's a policy they should have revisited a long time ago, because the industry has changed. Small independent publishers have the ability now to generate the graphics and do all the things that make a comic book look like a comic book, and to create the quality of product now. They're not printing this on some weird little homemade press thing in their mom's basement, right? You guys, I don't speak for the whole industry clearly, because nobody elected me the spokesperson for this industry. I'm just saying what's applicable at my store and how I view things and how I'm thinking. I know from all the various retailer forums that I'm on and the various retailers that I'm friends with and talk to, a lot of them feel similarly to me, but your mileage may vary. I mean, we got one guy in here whose retailer is thrilled with this idea and thinks that other people who have concerns he laughs. He thinks they're funny. So I can only answer from my perspective, but if anybody's got questions, I'm happy to answer.
Yep.
I'll tell you what I think. I'm not real shy.
And that was, a really awesome thing, right? Because we're getting a little bit of perspective here. We're getting Justin's obvious perspective of no opinion. We're getting Josh's perspective as this literally affects your livelihood.
And another thing I just want to put out, and Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to step, outside of my boundaries, because obviously I don't know what you know, but these are all concerns that you have based on speculation of what could happen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of it is guaranteed known, right?
Right.
Shipping costs are absolutely more.
Right.
Operational costs absolutely more. The work has been doubled. I mean, there's a lot of that math is very easy. That's a
Right.
very easy calculus to do. So a lot of that is known. There are definitely unknowns, and that's where you have to try to quantify what's going on there and how.
I think that's a lot of the question of the unknown is a lot of the problem too.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'd be lying if I would say that I don't also react with an emotional reaction to it, because this is something that means a lot to me. I love comics, man. I love talking comics. I love reading comics. I love looking at the art. I love. I'll tell you now, Justin. Lettering is it's an unsung skill, but you can tell the minute you look at a comic book where some dude just popped a weird font in there and typed and stuff. It's hideous. It's hideous. Lettering goes so far in a book. Nobody ever talks about it, but yeah, there you go. There's so many things. I love talking all aspects of comics. It's one of the things that makes Wednesday great. Wednesday's like Christmas every week. You got new comic book day. Did you see this? Did you read this? Oh my God, you got to check this out. It's the best thing in the world. And so anything that's going to disrupt that, anything that's going to make that, put that in jeopardy. Because if we step back from just the DC focus of this whole thing, right? You just took Diamond as an institution, right? They just lost their second biggest account.
Yep.
That revenue's gone. How does that impact their solvency? Because I said before, this entire industry is, to quote from the Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, it balances on the edge of a knife, right? It's a thin line to walk. It's a tightrope. It's a hard line to walk, and if you throw it too far off, what happens when you pull the second biggest publisher out from the mix? How does that impact Diamond? Are they still going to be solvent? And if they're not, did the entire comic book industry just get wrecked?
Yep.
There are far-reaching ramifications that certainly could be. That's where you start getting into all these, conspiracy theories and people getting terrified out of their gourds. I'm not scared of that, but it's a possibility.
Yep.
And you got to consider it.
There's a lot of known and a lot of unknown. So.
And I just got to tell you guys, I appreciate y'all bringing me on and letting me talk about this stuff. This is clearly very fresh. It just happened yesterday.
Well, hopefully it's a bit cathartic for you.
It is a little bit, although, you were up at the shop today. This is all we talked about at the shop all day.
Well, and there's people in the chat that they're saying they appreciate your passion for it and being able to get your side of the story and the feelings coming from someone who is going to be directly impacted. So we definitely appreciate you coming on and being able to add to this subject for sure.
You got one here from Automatic Comics on the quality of other distributors and the things that they've done. I've heard that's a mixed bag, honestly. Quite a few people have said my packages have come in perfect every time, and they've had no damages, no nothing. I've had quite a few people have said that, so that's certainly a plus. And God knows Diamond, that's not their strong suit. That's very much a plus. I have, on the other hand, had people say, and they took pictures and showed how the box were packaged, and I've never seen anything like it. A humongous box with a tiny handful of comics with, no bags and boards or anything, just loose comics wrapped around with bubble wrap, and the big honking bubble wrap at that, and just thrown into a box. So I don't know if it's more, if it's less. On the damages front, I know so far it seems to be a mixed bag. It's definitely more with some, and it's definitely less with others. I've heard that. And then Bub's Comics has got a comment down there about Diamond killing LCSs and DC leaving Diamond, and now they're the bad guys. Yeah, you've had people complaining about Diamond for years because they're a monopoly, and they act like one. They don't have to provide good, responsive customer service because what other choice do you have? Where else are you going to go? So they're going to give you what they want to give you, and you have to like it. And like I said, I have no problem with another distributor.
Yep.
A multi-distributor model, I'm fine with. I applaud that. I think it's a great idea. Where I have heartburn is really, if you want to boil it down, is twofold. One is that the other distributors that they have chosen, they being DC, this was not Diamond played no part, are not distributors. They are competitors.
Yep.
I have heartburn there. And the other is the timing. They give me a week to decide something that absolutely is critical to the future of my business. To not only decide it, but then to get an account set up, place an order through a system that nobody, I've never used. I don't know what it looks like. And it's the third time I will have had to place the same order for the same comics because Diamond has DC has zeroed out my order at Diamond twice, and now they're canceling orders that I have placed for the past month and a half. So yeah, is DC the bad guy here? Diamond is certainly not faultless. They have never been faultless. They've got a lot of issues, and I think that's what you hear, and that's what people are complaining about. Diamond's not killing local comic shops. Local comic shops literally would not exist if Diamond didn't exist.
Yeah.
You've got to have that. But yeah, DC has taken a really interesting, very bold turn. Now, they say in their email and their letter to us that it's part of their global plan, their strategy to expand global readership of comics in support of the direct market. They're telling me that this turd sandwich is good for me, and I'm going to love it because it's delicious. And it's part of their global plan to increase comic book readership. I would love to hear more about that plan. I would love to know that there is a plan. Because outside of them telling me those words in the Dear John letter that they sent, that's the first I've heard of any plan. I certainly haven't seen any evidence of any plan and how that's going to actually be beneficial to anybody. So I would love to see it. I hope that it's true. I hope they've got some miracle up their sleeve that they just haven't unveiled yet. But for the moment, right now, yeah, they've been like rolling hand grenades into the room every Friday for the past month and a half. And yesterday, they just like rolled a small-scale nuke in there and set that off. So, yeah. The whole Tuesday thing is a whole nother animal. Somebody earlier asked, can't you just hold it until Wednesday? Yeah, we can, and that's what we have been doing. That's what we would continue to do if in the event that we do choose to pick up and continue to carry DC Comics. Because that's exactly what it is. But... yeah, the Tuesday thing, and why is that an issue? Because say you got a hot title, right? Let's go back to the Batman 89 example. If the next Batman 89, whatever that is, whatever store is open on Tuesday, you got that guy who can't wait until Wednesday to get it, no matter if he's been a loyal customer at your store forever, and he's got to get it. He's going to run over and pick it up from your competitor on Tuesday. So now you've got to open on Tuesdays. I mean, there's just so many goofy things going on there. Yep. When I first started doing comics and selling comics, New Comic Book Day was Friday. That's when you got your stuff. And then that moved to Thursday, and it was Thursday for a long time. And then comic book stores fought to get that earlier, and they landed on Wednesday. And it's been Wednesday for a really long time. And for my money, it works better as a Wednesday thing because new movies come out on Fridays. New books and new music albums and things come out on Tuesdays. In comics, they got their own thing, and that's Wednesday.